Sunday, October 24th, the 30th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Today, the Gospel passage describes an incident that took place on Jesus' final journey to Jerusalem. As we mentioned last week, neither the disciples nor the crowd were aware of the apparent tragic culmination of that journey. They were oblivious, no, blind, to Jesus' imminent crucifixion. It is in this context that Bartimaeus, the blind man, shouts out from the wayside for mercy from the Son of David. Bartimaeus represents the crowd that is oblivious to the suffering servant of Yahweh and is intoxicated with the idea of the restoration of the Davidic kingdom. Jesus gives him sight, symbolic of seeing him as the suffering servant of God. The crowd that prevented Bartimaeus from coming to know Christ continues to be blind, while he receives the vision of seeing who Jesus actually is. The healing of Bartimaeus is not just about the physical restoration of eyesight, but about vision. When one is able to see with clarity the future or the present, it is vision. I have forgotten where I read this idea, but it tells the truth about vision. It is dawn only when you can see the person next to you as your neighbor. Until that moment of vision, we only see appearances. To recognize the other as a neighbor is not a quality of the eye, but of the mind. It is this transformation that happens to Bartimaeus. An interesting detail that the Gospel writer has not left out is the response of the crowd. The crowd, not knowing that they are blind, are silencing the one who seeks vision. Silencing a legitimate cry is violence. The crowd has a propensity for violence without responsibility. The guilt is shared by the anonymity of the crowd, and no one person takes responsibility for the violence and atrocities done by the crowd. The mass stoning of the guilty in Jewish legal systems also comes from this idea of shared guilt. No single person from the crowds can be isolated to impute the guilt of a crime. Shared crime reduces the psychological gravity of the guilt. The crowd here silences the cry of an outsider from the margins of the road. People who are not part of the common perception, the minorities, get silenced. Bartimaeus' cry to be heard individually is flooded by the crowd noise. However, the Master has a unique ability to find the one in need, even in the middle of the crowd. Remember when the woman with the hemorrhage was one among the crowd who were nearly crushing Jesus? The Lord stops in the middle of the chaos and listens to her special request, which is different from that of the common crowd. The crowd is capable of making its own idols and worshiping them. The image of Jesus as a Davidic dynasty successor is one of the idols created by the crowd. When Moses was upon the mountain conversing with God in the Old Testament, the crowd was busy making a golden calf and worshiping it. The crowd looks for excitement and amusement. They create idols that match their need for excitement. At the scene of the entry of Jesus to Jerusalem, or at the time of the interrogation of Jesus, the crowd would play different roles. At one moment, they were the Hosanna crowd, and at another, a crucify crowd. The crowd had tried to make Jesus a king. They had come in search of bread, and Jesus had challenged their intentions. The crowd is typically characterized by a lack of values, and therefore is easily swayed by the designs and manipulations of the powerful. Jesus attempts to convert the crowd into a community. A community is characterized as a group of people with values and purpose. They are not prey to the manipulations of the political or other powers. The process of converting a crowd into the community is a way of giving vision to the spiritually blind, a sense of purpose to the purposeless, a set of values to the corrupt and sinful. The Beatitudes and other teachings of Jesus were primarily intended towards making an inclusive ecclesial community with the values of Christ.